LLMs, large language models, are becoming quite popular. So this naturally begs the question, when do we use the current technology, neural machine translation, NMT, versus large language models? And I think we're getting to an inflection point, and the scale is tipping in favor of large language models. However, we wanted to give an idea of when each one can be used because each technology has its own strength and weaknesses. So in the case of neural machine translation models, so the current technology, so think, for example, Google Translate, DeepL, Amazon, etc., we find that the translation tends to be more literal, but there tends to be better adherence to brand terminology. And this content is generally suited when there's a human in the loop and the content itself is less creative. On the other hand, large language models tend to be more fluent and natural sounding. However, this comes at the expense of less adherence to brand terminology. This could be a scenario where you might want to use large language models for content that is a bit more creative and perhaps when there's no human in the loop. So the question then ultimately is when to switch, right? When do we get to that tipping point? We would say right now, use both potentially based on the content that you have. So if you have less creative content and a human in the loop, perhaps neural machine translation. Whereas if it's more creative content, needs to sound more snazzy, then perhaps a large language model and there is no human in the loop.